a sequel to Bridesmaids? You're watching Beyond the Trailer's review of Tyler Perry's The Single Moms Club.
These different women.
You need to make an executive decision to get back on the horse. And by horse, I mean your neighbor.
I want a revolution.
Will discover how much they have in common.
I brought you some flowers. Boy, that's a funeral wreath. Do I look dead to you?
Excuse me, we're all having a school fundraiser and we have to build a set. We need a man who knows how to pound with tools.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can pound.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got plenty of wood.
Starting almost a decade ago, Tyler Perry pretty much single-handedly carved out a niche for black talent in Hollywood through his prolific work and consistent box office success. Fast forward to today, and he now has plenty of company, from directors Tim Story and Malcolm D. Lee to producer Will Packer and even fellow multi-hyphenate Kevin Hart. And black talent is not only flourishing in mainstream films, but has crossed over into award season with directors Lee Daniels, Ryan Coogler, and Steve McQueen, Oscar-winning screenwriter John Ridley, as well as actors Michael B. Jordan and Chiwetel Ejiofor. This has led to a new discussion. Should films remain black and white, or is the next step to diversify? And who should take that next step? Many black moviegoers bristle at the suggestion that quote-unquote black films should add white characters, while the bulk of Hollywood's content remains largely white. But someone has to take this next step, and once again Tyler Perry is leading the charge. The Single Moms Club features a truly diverse cast, with black actresses Nia Long and Coco Brown, white actresses Amy Smart and Wendy McClendon-Covey, as well as Latina actress Zulay Hanau. And there's diversity in the type of mom portrayed as well, with Hollywood finally realizing June Cleaver and Mommy Dearest aren't the only two choices. Now, Perry tried his hand at diversity before with 2008's The Family That Prays, but it ended up being one of his least successful films. However, he recently scored with TV series The Haves and Have-Nots, a sort of Southern upstairs downstairs that's the most popular series on the Oprah Winfrey Network. In fact, OWN has already greenlit a TV series based on the Single Moms Club, which will debut later this year. So, can Perry prove that diversity works as well on the big screen as it has on the small? Now, to me at least, The Family That Prays seemed like a movie that was trying to be diverse. But the nice thing about the Single Moms Club is that it simply is diverse. The white and Latino characters aren't tokens that are there for the sake of diversity, but are fully realized characters that are integral to the storyline, even to the point where the white characters start out the movie. So it's really great to see another example of all-inclusive filmmaking, a film that's truly for everybody outside of the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, some of you might be wondering to yourself, angrily so, why is this Tyler Perry's responsibility? Why is it the responsibility of black filmmakers to reach across the aisle to white audiences? And I would say to you, it's not. You know, it's a responsibility, you would think, of everyone, all filmmakers, to try and make inclusive films for everybody that wants to go and buy a movie ticket. But the case simply is that Hollywood's not doing it. Hollywood isn't going to do it. If the success of the Fast and Furious franchise did not spur them to action, nothing will. So just as Tyler Perry led the charge with African-American mainstream filmmaking, hopefully he can lead the charge with diversity. But I say hopefully because I don't think it's going to be with this film. And that's because while I feel it does succeed as all-inclusive entertainment, it does so at a television level. So I don't see this movie succeeding at the box office, so Hollywood's going to look at it, unfortunately so, and say, oh, there just is an audience for this kind of movie. People like their movie to either be, black or white. And I think that's not true. I think you just have an instance here where Tyler Perry, while bold in his casting choices and his social agenda, and as a businessman expanding his empire, he has, however, really dialed it back in terms of as a filmmaker. And I think this is the second film I've seen of his after A Medea Christmas that seems more like a TV movie than an actual, theater-worthy experience. This seems like a movie pilot for this television series he wants to make on OWN of the Single Moms Club, which is, really, really unfortunate because it also doesn't make any sense because these actors, I think a good deal of them, aren't going to continue on to the television show. So why get people introduced and have them bond to characters that they're not going to see on the small screen? So that's my biggest problem with this film, is that it just seems too small. And I think that's a problem with Tyler Perry films in general. I don't know if his focus is, somewhere else these days, but maybe it's time for him to bring in other directors into his, into his team. But I just think it's a shame because I think he's losing ground, and I don't see him really gaining a lot of ground elsewhere, as a good trade-off. I mean, outside of his success on the Oprah Winfrey Network, which is commendable. And again, as I said, he is really doing a good job promoting diversity there, and probably will continue to with the Single Moms Club. But the other problem with this film is that I think it's very clearly from the male perspective. And I think that's very clear today when you have films like Bridesmaids and Tina Fey's 30 Rock that are coming from, female creative voices. So they really can get it right about what goes on from the female perspective, how we view these problems, like, and in this case, single moms. And I think that, there's lots of ways I could point this out, but the two ones that I think really crystallize it are, one, Tyler Perry has these women walking around in really stiletto high heels all the time in the film. And it just really stood out to me. It's just something that didn't ring true. I mean, women are famous for carrying like these balled up ballet flats in our bags so that we can change out of high heels, when we're going to and from events. And I think it's great that women have been able to create this mystique that Tyler Perry believes. He believes that we always wear these really high heels all the time. But, I think any woman watching this movie, the audience that's going to come here, that's going to just, it's going to take them out of it, being like, why is she wearing stiletto heels to go and pick up her daughter, to run errands, to go hang out with her friends? I mean, you just can't wear stiletto heels for a very long time. I don't know if guys know this, but I'd say maybe an hour and a half tops, the kind of high heels they're wearing in this movie, before your feet just say, you have to take these shoes off. So that was just something I thought was a false choice. And the other aspect was, and I don't want to ruin this movie for anybody, so if you don't like knowing, this isn't really going to ruin any of the plot twists, but if you don't like knowing anything about a movie, stop watching now and come back later after you've seen the film. But another problem I had is that for every single mom, their problems were largely solved by getting a guy. And while I think that a lot of single moms, I imagine, would love to find romance and get us, either meet a husband for the first time or meet someone new, and romance is a very big part of everyone's life, I'm surprised that Tyler Perry isn't more sensitive to the fact that for some of his audience, for some of the single moms that go and see this movie, romance is not an option. It's not working out. It's hard to meet people. So to kind of create a scenario to have a single mom come into this movie, I feel bad for any single moms that'll go in there and be like, wow, so the solution to all my problems is to meet a guy, but I'm having trouble meeting a guy, and I can't because I have my job and my kid, and so I think Tyler Perry would just make them feel worse. So I was just really surprised that he wasn't sensitive to that. Those are my problems with the film. I did think that the actors were very good. I liked the fact that they did a good job showing different types of single moms. I thought the setup was very believable and creative. This posh private school that worked very hard to have a diverse student body and therefore had a diverse group of parents as well. I thought that was very timely, and I thought that, as I said, everything was really good. It was just a little light. This movie's just a little light in terms of not only its message, but its filmmaking. And also, I do want to point out, though, that there are some very hot guys in this movie. I was discussing this. I hope you'll check out my interview with Wendy McClendon-Covey. I'll put a link to it at the end. But there are some very hot guys in this movie, surprisingly so. And there's this one particular guy, William Levy. I had no idea who this guy was until I saw this movie. Apparently, he's from Dancing with the Stars. But there's eye candy for single. I think Tyler Perry knows his core demographic. And I have to say, I wish he had made the Single Dads Club. I think he'd have more insight into that, and that would be a more unique film. But again, he knows his core audience, and I think that, as I said, I think this is a good matinee, or perhaps a good thing to rent at home, and I'm sure a lot of people will tune in for the television show. So that's my review of the Single Moms Club. I'm curious to what you guys think of the film. Write your thoughts down below, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.